Alright, we're starting up a new video on the Jeep. Wasn't really intending on doing that, but I already did everything and started filming for unknown reasons, and then might as well. Anyway, so I'm filming the intro after the fact. But this Jeep has always run hot. I've always had like catastrophic cooling issues with it, like chronic acute issues. I don't know how to describe it. It's not like the thing overheats all the time. It's like the thing just all of a sudden has a cooling system issue all the time, but only when it does. You feel me? So, I mean, we're on radiator 3, I think water pump 3, second overflow tank, like third overflow hose, thermostat number 2, it's going to be number 3 in a second, spoiler, and upper rad hose number 4, I think. She has, and radiator fan number 2. So, and radiator fan shroud number 2 as well. So, yeah, it has just, oh, and still heater core number 1. It's just not hooked up. But this thing has always had cooling issues. I'm assuming it was just abused before I got it, and then it was abused after I got it, but at least I know how I abused it. We can cope for that. So, it has always had an extremely overpressurized cooling system. I don't remember what pressure cap it came with. I think it had an 18 or 20, but I put a 16 on it. Just because it wouldn't pop the cap until it was already like 250 something degrees. That cap pops at like 240, so it doesn't really give you much warning. And also the dummy cooling system doesn't help either. But suffice it to say, this vehicle is not engineered for the southern climate. So when I'm, cruising around at 20 miles an hour trying to, tow a trailer stuck in traffic with the AC cranked up so I don't die, the Jeep is just struggling. It's just bouncing back and forth between like 205 and like 215. The electric fan doesn't kick on until it's at 215 degrees Fahrenheit, which is above the boiling point of water. So I don't know why they engineered it that way, because if you run straight water in this, the water will boil before the electric fan kicks in. But I digress. It ain't built for hot. So with that in mind, we're swapping the thermostat for something a little bit colder, as well as putting some fresh coolant in it, because that's yeah. I don't think I put HOT in there. I'm pretty sure I put the green stuff. So anyway, without any further ado, let's begin the video. All right, so brief kind of segue here. I'm over here wrenching on Theseus because I'm swapping out the thermostat. Now I replaced the thermostat preemptively when I got the car, and just put in a regular 195, and the thermostat's perfectly fine. But this car has just, it has always felt like it runs way too damn hot. Like it is not built for the Charleston climate, the deep South climate. And I just feel like it just hyper fluctuates between like it only gets down to like 198 at highway speed in the summer, with just full airflow through the radiator with the AC off and everything, windows up and all that jazz. And it just feels like it runs way too damn hot. So I'm putting a 180 in it. And in order to do that, I got to drain all the damn coolant out of it. So I might as well put fresh coolant in the Jeep. And if I'm draining out all this, well, I think this has only been in here for about 50,000 miles. I think that's the last time the radiator blew up. Might as well put this in the Mercedes and get that horrid sludge out of there. But this stuff is looking pretty piss colored, considering this is green coolant. Pretty sure I didn't put the yellow European stuff in here, so maybe not. I don't know. I got 3.5 or 5. Got about 6 jugs of coolant, so I might just put fresh in both of them. But anyway, I'm gonna put fresh stuff in the Jeep, and if we don't need all of it, or if we end up not having enough, this nasty piss water is going in the Mercedes. But I'm gonna save all the coolant just in case, because still gonna have to test run the Corvette. Corvette's gonna have a lot of rust scale and shit in the cooling system anyway. So might as well run nasty coolant through the brand new fresh radiator, before we put the real good coolant in, just so we can do a flush on it. Might do distilled water, probably not. Also, they ain't getting distilled water. They're getting city water, but anyway. All right, so new thermostat's in, and put in a gallon of coolant, gallon of city water, well, almost a gallon of city water. Burped the system as best I could, dumped a bunch of coolant on the ground, and we're just test running her with the OBD hooked up. She's sitting at 178 right now, so this is just cruising at about 25 miles an hour. It's about 60 degrees out, maybe 65. Nah, probably somewhere around 62 probably. So shouldn't get too terribly hot. But we'll just see where she settles. I'm expecting something around 185, 190, just, you know, rolling around. Whoop, about ran into my cousin there. But I'm expecting something around 185, 190. So we're just gonna run around the neighborhood real quick and see whether or not she's overheating. And she looks like she's getting high. I'll run back, so I probably need to pour about close to another gallon. Well, not another gallon, maybe somewhere around a quart, probably more water into the system. But you know, once all the air bubbles get worked out, but we shall see. All right, so just cruising around about 45, and seems to be where she's settling. 187 seems, so it'll probably settle at about 190 when it's hot. You know, I think the fan doesn't kick on till like 215 or something wild like that. You know, I don't know why you would have an electric fan kick on after you hit the boiling point of water, but whatever, I'm not a Chrysler engineer. But yeah, about 185 seems to be what she likes when it's fairly cool out. So anyway, I'll just spin on back around and see whether or not she sucked down the coolant or not. What I'm really interested to see is whether or not this new thermostat will passively keep the engine, you know, just sitting there idling, not moving under 200, or if it's just going to climb all the way up to 215, kick the fans on, because I believe the fans cut off at 195, I think they're tuned to the 195 radiator. So this isn't going to help, you know, with high-end heat. You know, if it's relying on the electric fan is going to keep it, you know, between 195 and 215. But at cruising, it should, you know, keep it a little bit cooler, which, you know, if I'm moving the car and it's really hot out, I just want that passive cooling. Instead of, you know, the electric fan cutting on and off and on and off and on and off all the time. So I ain't to the point where I'm willing to put a mechanical fan on it, but boy, I have threatened to do it. Man, I gotta clean my windows. Well, we're back at the shop, and I'm just sitting there letting her idle, and she's been sitting here for a couple minutes now, and we're stabilized at 190, so that's perfect. That's exactly what I want to see. So great. Fuel trims don't yet seem to be screwed up by having the engine idle this cold, and additionally it's like 60 out, so the reason I'm doing this is for when, you know, it's like 95, 100 degrees out, I'm sitting in traffic trying to run the AC not to die, and it's a lot of coolant, and you know, that kind of thing. So it's set at 190, being 60 out is pretty much right where I want it, and don't have the cap on because I just wanted it to breathe a bit, and yeah, I think that's good. So all we can really do is just run around now for a while, as I often do, and what that usually means is a month from now, I'll want to close out this video, so I'll just, you know, do it without actually checking the mileage. But I'm interested to see whether or not running this engine cold over the winter months does anything to my fuel economy, whether it makes it worse, because I assume the engineers wanted this to be a hot running engine. I don't know why they would expect it to run so hot if they didn't have a good, you know, reason for that, or you know, could just make it run better because it's getting a colder air charge, and you know, the fuel's not boiling, because this isn't direct injection, this is port injection, so it's spraying on in there is gonna, you know, heat up the fuel, and of course it'll burn better, but fuel economy will probably be a little bit worse, a little bit less power. So we'll see if this does anything, but yeah, I'm just gonna finish off my jug, well, close to finish it off. I'll drink the rest, and that should be all she needs. Not a drop spilled. All right, so that's probably gonna need all of that because that's a cold fill line right there. So I'll top her off, and we'll fast forward to whenever the hell I got something else going on with it. Not a drip either, ignore that. That doesn't exist. There's no drip there. That's just dripping off of the engine, I hope, I assume. There's a lot of wet. Don't worry about that, don't ignore it. Ignore that guy, he doesn't exist. Additionally, I just thought of something else. One other recurring issue that I have that is heat related with this Jeep is the fact that it boils the gas in the fuel rail. Does it actually in the winter worse than it does in the summer, because I've got winter gas in it. It's especially bad in spring because you put winter gas in the Jeep and then the temperature goes up, and so you've got this very volatile fuel in the fuel rail, which is a low pressure fuel rail, and then the whole engine bay heats up, and so you get heat soak when you park the car, and then that boils all the fuel in the fuel rail, either forces its way through a leaky injector or out through one of the Schrader valves, but there's no leaking gas anywhere. Where you go to start, it just blows, you know, hot gas vapor into the engine, and it won't run at all until you run it long enough for the fuel pump to actually to blow everything out of the fuel rail, and then for the fuel pump to pump fresh cold gas into it. It is incredibly annoying and very embarrassing. And I'm hoping that maybe keeping this engine down another 15 degrees Fahrenheit might mitigate that some. So I don't know. We'll see. It is winter, so this will be the perfect chance to test it. But maybe I could be so lucky. Oof, da. Look, poor fella. Whoop. Well, let's not look at that. Well, anyway, it's been a hot minute. I've killed slightly more birds than I have since last time I was speaking to you. How long has it been? It's been about 6 months, I think, since I started this. And we've been putting miles on the Jeep, and things are actually looking pretty good. The last couple of times I've been gotten 20 and a half a couple times recently. We're trending back up towards 19 and a half or so. So the cooler thermostat might have actually done something. I don't know. It's certainly not overheating anymore, which is nice. But as to whether or not I'm actually getting better fuel economy on average, I don't know yet. I haven't crunched the numbers. It could also just be that the Coopers are starting to wear in, but I don't think I've got more than 10,000 miles on them now, and they're 50,000 mile tires, so I don't think they've gotten any lighter. But I noticed that when I had Coopers before, I had a gradual increase in fuel economy as the tires wore in and they got lighter. I don't know. That could just be a correlation. It may not be actually related or not. Could just be coincidence. I don't know. But fuel economy is improving as it's getting warmer out, so that's a good sign. We're coming into June now. It's the end of May, and usually this is about time I have peak fuel economy is about this time of year. So I might run a little bit longer. I might go crunch the data now, but things are actually looking good that I might actually be improving fuel economy, maybe, theoretically. Knock on wood. Well, 'tis the season. It's time for road cruising in the National Forest, and God could just not ask for a better day. And that's the end of our dirt road journey. And a little skirt. Man, there just ain't nothing like the longleaf flatwoods of the Francis Marion. Oh, goddamn southeastern ecologist wet dream. Well, it's about 5 hours later and it's hailing now, so that's interesting. That's not normal. I hope I don't get killed in a tornado, but we're back on the same road and we're road cruising, and as is the tradition for May, you just put her in 4 low and 4 high, and you just send her. That's what May is all about here in the Francis Marion. Oh Lord, she finally calmed down. But this should be good tonight for finding me some fancy snakes and whatnot. Alrighty, so I've been fucking around in Excel, and here are my graphs for fuel economy in the Jeep, and this is the all-time through the Jeep, and so that's what I want. That's when we had really good fuel economy for some reason, and that's where we've been. So the main difference between that and that is tires, because that's when we had the original Coopers on the car, was in this block right here, and that was when I did a bunch of work and got the, I think that's when the transmission was rebuilt and some other shit, but that was when we were fucking riding high on the Coopers, and then I went to the Pirellis, and there was an instantaneous drop with the Pirellis, and then right about yonder is where I switched back over to the Coopers and the mag rims, and it did fuck all, and then it just got really bad for some reason, and I just went and looked through my my service log again, and there's nothing there. I still don't understand it. It's just strange. Like the only thing of significance there is that I replaced the main outbound fuel line from the fuel tank from the just piece of like 3/8 hose that I had on there as an emergency patch when it broke the last OEM fuel line, and I switched it back to the regular 5/16 nylon line. But the limiting factor there is the injectors. It's not fuel pressure, I don't think, unless my fuel pumps just, but I mean, if you have a bad fuel pump, that just means that you're either going to duty cycle the injectors longer, or it's going to lean the engine out. And all my trims are correct, so I don't know, maybe my injectors are going bad. I don't know. I've never done the injectors in the damn thing. But it's, yeah. So anyway, this is the current graph of the tires that are on the car over the last 2 years, and it looks identical. So we're still exactly where we're at. And this is a floating average trend line here, averaged every 5. And as you can see, it was 19.5 when we put the tires on it. It always dips down in winter, picks back up in June. So that's June, and that's June. Well, now, May. And yeah, so the average is still 19.5. So this is when we did the radiator, and it improved significantly. Wow, went up a whole average of 2 mpgs, but it's just what it does. It just, Jeep does not like winter. Yeah. However, here's my graph of fuel economy based off of average air temperature, and green is average and blue is max air temperature. Green is probably more representative because I'm driving the car at morning and at night primarily when I'm commuting. So average air temperature would be more indicative of when I'm actually in the car driving it. And yeah, I mean, there's a trend line. There's a difference of a quarter mpg according to this, from 1975 to 19 or 20. Actually, let me tweak that trend line real quick and see what that does. So even putting these things on logarithmic, I'm still, that's half an mpg is all it's showing me. So I mean, it's apparently very significant according to these R values, but it's not really. I mean, you can see a significant difference over here just looking at the floating average as compared to this. So yeah, I mean, there's clearly a dip in winter, but still don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know why the Jeep is losing so much fuel economy, or in the fact that I'm not driving it as far as often. All right, so going through my service log, and yes, I do keep autistic spreadsheets. Thank you for asking. When I had that really massive jump up that in my fuel economy, it was right after I did a full suspension. I did the front struts, and I also did the tie rod ends. Really, it was just the front struts. When did I do the rear springs? Yeah, it was 3 months earlier that I did the rear coils, and that really wouldn't do anything. So yeah, got in a fender bender, placed some shit, did all the fucking springs, and then that's right here. So that's when I would have done the rear coils, and then this right here is where I would have done front struts. And so that would have, this is when I should have peaked at fuel economy, and then it just stayed fucking level. But that was also when I finally got a full-time job, and I was driving literally 65 miles a day for a commute. Was from here all the way to here. And so this would have been my commute, full-on mega commute. But yeah, there was that complete 1 mpg drop going to the Pirellis, and then I moved, which would have been here, and then that's where this kind of flattens out again because I'm not driving the car at highway speed for 65 miles a day. But it's a full 2 mpg's worth. So I'm wondering if it's time to do front struts again, because that's, yeah, because I have 80,000 miles on these struts, and one of them is a shitty fake ass strut, and also my suspension feels pretty damn rough. So maybe it's time to do struts again. I was thinking about it. I was thinking about doing the rear shocks as well. I'll part it out. That might be worth it. All right, so as you can see by crunching the numbers, we have not made any significant difference in fuel economy with the thermostat, but I will say that I haven't had the vapor lock issue practically at all this winter. I mean, it popped up once or twice, but it's been remarkably better. So I think having the cooler thermostat in there is helping in some other ways. The car seems to be running much cooler. I'm hearing the electric fan less. Like I said, the vapor lock issue has gotten not as bad, so that's a good sign. But the thing I noticed in there, looking through the data, is shocks. Because I've been thinking about my shocks for like the last, I don't know, like 10,000 miles. They just seem like they're ass again. And I remember when I changed the shocks last time, it's because they felt like they were ass. And that was at 170,000 or 180,000 miles? Yeah, something around there. And now we're at close to 270,000 miles. Actually, I think we are over 270 on the odometer now. So it's been between 80 and 90,000 miles since I did shocks and springs all the way around. So I said, fuck it. Dropped 250 bucks, and I've got new front struts and new rear shocks coming in the mail. I mean, the rear springs are fine. I'm sure the springs up here are still fine, but it's just, I'm not renting a coil spring compressor and doing all that shit for, for an additional, like, 30 bucks. I'm just going to get front struts and then not have to drive into town. And anyway, I'm getting old and I'm spending more money on things now, but we're going to do full new shocks, and that's going to be the next video. Is we're going to see if that results in remarkably better fuel economy. Because I mean, if it gives the car more ground contact, then our rolling resistance isn't going to be all over the place, and maybe it'll make more power at highway speed because it's not doing this all the time and losing all that energy through heat. So I don't know, we'll see. It'll be interesting. If not, it should ride better, which is desperately needed. I'm getting old, my back hurts, but anyway, I digress. If you like what I'm doing here and you're learning all about your crappy POS Jeep, then consider giving the video a like and comment, and tell me what you've done to your Jeep or your vehicle that suddenly improved your fuel economy. It doesn't have to be anything, miraculous or some kind of wonder thing, but like one of those small maintenance items that you did and just all of a sudden, oh, hey, my fuel economy's great. That'd be interesting. That's, stuff like that interests me. And I mean, I've had this car now longer than it had miles on it when I got it. I don't know if that was correct English, but I put more miles on this car than I had when I got it at this point, and we're creeping up on 300,000 miles. And of course, it's it's a replacement engine, a replacement transmission. I was really scared that the engine was like on its way out last year, and I mean it's still chooching through oil, but I think that's just seals. I'm hoping that doing a cooler thermostat's also going to help on the oil consumption a little bit, but we shall see. She's still eating it, so I've gone back to a better oil at this point. And one thing is I tried some seal fix in the Mercedes, and it worked absolute wonders on sealing the front main seal leak. And I mean, this sucker ate through like 3 to 4 quarts of oil in about 6,000 miles, and now it's got like 4 on it, and it's gone through maybe 1.5. So seal fix works. So I might try that in the Jeep. I don't know. The stuff's $10 a bottle, but if it gets me another 2,000 miles out of the oil, then yeah, a jug of oil's $30 right now. So then that's, I mean, it's a net loss, but it's a net wash, but I have to change oil less, so that's always better. So we shall see. But shocks are going to be next, and yeah, if you want to see that, you gotta subscribe. So smash the big gray button down there. Until next time, I'm out.